What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It is Professor Anime. Welcome back to yet again another Boku no Hero Academia Season 2 video. So this is actually going to be a review rather than a live reaction. I'm just going to try to change things up a bit. I actually posted a video about the channel will be changing in general. So if you haven't seen that video, I'll put a link down in the description down below if you guys want to check out where the future of the direction of this channel is going to go from here on out. But honestly, there wasn't really anything to react to over in this episode to begin with, but we did get quite a bit of revelations, so today we're going to talk about those. Now, the biggest thing that we really got from this episode was the tale of the origin story of All For One, All Might's source of power that he eventually gave to Deku. But before we actually dive into that, first, let me say one thing out of the way that I still think needs to be talked about when it came down to this episode, as it pretty much just shows the, progression that our characters have made when it comes down to their overall abilities to use their quirks. For the most part, all the students have pretty much returned from their internships with their fellow mentors, and everything has pretty much gotten back to normal after the whole Stain arc, and classes have started yet again, and now All Might puts the students to the test as to see how far their quirks have come, and pretty much lets them undergo a test by basically, having a race in which they have to maneuver through a very vast, difficult, and chaotic environment. I mean, it looks like a factory, so you get what I'm saying. I mean, all the pipelines and shit like that, and basically our characters had to maneuver to, from all this in order to get to All Might's location, as he's playing as the, dummy for the rescue op that they are currently undergoing. And basically what this is to do, it doesn't really matter who gets there first. From what it looked like, it didn't really seem like, there was a special prize or point system in all of this. It was mainly just to have the characters be evaluated by All Might and see how far they have come. And judging by how some of the characters played out, they played pretty well. They're getting a lot more adapted to their quirks and learning how to use them more properly, especially through hazardous environments like the one they were in. And Deku is even getting used to only using about 5% of his power, because if he uses more than that, it ends up breaking the, threshold into which he can end up losing control of his body. So to see that from Deku and also the very other characters getting used to their, powers, it was very cool to see, and I think that is something worth mentioning, as now they have gotten better in strength, but as well as have become more adapted with their overall abilities. But the biggest kicker here was what we got at the very end of this episode, which was the origin story of the One For All ability. How exactly All Might received it, what went down, how, One For All was technically created to begin with, which happened to be the tale of basically two brothers. But however, this power that the older brother had, he actually ended up abusing his power, and even gone as far as to even, give some of his power to his younger brother. And as we know, his younger brother was quirkless, but we don't know if this was an act of kindness or to submit his brother like the older brother has done to other people before him. But inside the younger brother apparently was in fact actually a quirk. It was a quirkless quirk. Something was awakening underlying within him right after the One For All was sent into his body, and this technically mutated the two quirks into creating something of his very own. And this was in fact giving the One For All ability able to be passed down to other heroes before them. And it kind of makes you think, now that we actually got that revelation, is there something inside Deku? Is there something inside Izuku? Because as we know, Deku, has had no quirks whatsoever. He's been quirkless. He received One For All from All Might. And if in fact this is true, that, you know, there is an underlying, you know, quirk within him that has in fact mutated, we just don't know about it, but could show up later down the line, when exactly will we be able to see this? But it just brings up the consideration fact that, you know, will we actually see this from Deku later on in the series? Is there another quirk that resides within Deku that we just didn't know about, that he doesn't even know about? So this was definitely an interesting episode of Boku no Hero Academia, and definitely did play an overall, you know, integral part to the overall plot of the series, and will definitely appear some way or another later down the line, as now we finally know how exactly One For All is passed down, its origin stories, and it also raises some questions regarding Deku as a character as well, because, I mean, while, you know, he is quirkless, he has One For All, but could there also be something underlying residing within him that could appear later down the line? And keep in mind, it was also said in this episode that before society was riddled with heroes, it was actually very, very rare, and not a whole lot of people had quirks to begin with. A lot of them were like Deku. So, it's quite interesting. It's quite interesting. It's quite interesting to see, you know, what's going to happen from here on out. And it has an interesting history regarding, you know, the origin story of just quirks in general. So, I'm very curious to hear your overall thoughts. What do you guys think about this episode? What did you think about the overall, you know, history regarding the origin story of One For All? You like, just, I don't know, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, because I would very much like to hear your thoughts. I thought it was a very good episode, and definitely, as I said before, is very integral to the overall plot. And judging from what we got by the ending of this episode, at the very end post-credit scene, we see that there is another threat that is making its way to UA Academy, and oh man. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Be sure to give this video a like if you enjoyed, and hit that red subscribe button down below if you want to see more from me. That about does it for this video. Everyone, thank you all for watching. Catch you all in the next one. Peace out.